It's another Thunder Thursday in Oklahoma City. I'm Mike Sherman, sports editor of the Oklahoman, joined here by the foremost authority on the NBA and OKC, Darnell Mayberry, and the rest of our Thunder coverage, which today consists of columnist Jenny Carlson. You there, Jenny?
She's on the phone.
She's on the phone.
Oh, and Thunder beat writer Eric Horn. How's it going, Eric?
Oh, it's great. Great day in America.
Soon to join us, maybe, from Phoenix, where he'll be covering the college football playoff, will be columnist Barry Trammell. And our other Thunder beat writer, Anthony Slater, is in Los Angeles, where tonight he's going to cover a special ceremony honoring Russell Westbrook for his overall gifts to UCLA, contributions there, and the player he's become. Guys, but let's start off here. Darnell, we're approaching the midway point. In fact, I think I calculated this morning. We'll get to the 41-game point late next week. And so the Thunder, if things go like you think, they play the Lakers on Friday night, I think they'll be on a 58-win pace, if my math is right. That's a lot of wins, and 41 games will be a pretty good sampling. What can we say we know with confidence about, first, Billy Donovan?
I think that he's really trying his best to implement some new ways of playing, and ball movement being one of them, player movement being the other. I think you're seeing some of it looks the same offensively, but I think a lot of what this team used to do, you're kind of seeing fade a little bit, and I think that's the biggest thing that they wanted when they brought him in, and I think that's the biggest thing that he's done so far. And he's really been good, I think, communicating that to the players and getting them to continue to play at a high level night in and night out. But I think the biggest thing is some of the things offensively, which they wanted to see. We called it tactical competence. I think you're seeing a lot of that now with Billy Donovan.
Sam Presti called it that. Jenny, what do you got confidence in saying about Billy Donovan after almost 41 games? Maybe she's on the phone still.
She's on the phone.
Still on the phone. How about you, Eric? What can you say with confidence we know now about Billy Donovan?
I could say that he's definitely not afraid to shake it up, and he's definitely not afraid to admit that he made a mistake in certain regard. The shake it up part would be being able to bring in Cameron Payne, the rookie, and sit down DJ Augustine for long stretches. I mean, DJ Augustine's gotten some DNPs the last couple of weeks in expense of Cam Payne. And in terms of admitting he made a mistake, I mean, I think that he's been able to go to Anthony Morrow even after not giving Morrow extended minutes in the early stretches of the season and giving more to Kyle Singler. He was able to go back and come back to Anthony Morrow and get him back into the rotation more prominently. So I think that's kind of a direction that's different from what Scott Brooks was bringing. And Scott Brooks was kind of stuck with the certain rotation that he had going on. But Billy's shown that he's been able to take some chances and experiment with some things and try out some different lineups.
Jenny Carlson, the Thunder is approaching a 58-win pace. Darnell says we can tell by so far that Billy Donovan's trying to do some things with some success offensively. Eric says we know for sure that he's going to make some changes. He offers as evidence the whole Cameron Payne, DJ Augustine handoff. What are you confident that you know about Billy Donovan thus far?
Well, I think that his willingness to try some different things is pretty clear. You know, it looked to me like the Singler to Morrow thing was a trial run for Singler, and then clearly Augustine, he wanted to see what he had, and then Cam Payne, we're getting a chance to see that. So I think he does have a willingness to do different things. We've seen him go with that small lineup and to great success. So I think he has been willing to change and adapt and sort of season to try a few things out. So that's kind of exciting. You know, the offense and, you know, how much they're moving the ball, is it better? Is it the same? I mean, I think that's open for debate. You know, clearly when you have in-game scenarios, you're going to have your stars that will take control, you know, whether that's by design or them just taking it into their own hands. So I'd like to see a little more ball movement. I'd like to see a little more trusting of other guys in the offense. But, in those late game situations, it's just hard. I think it's hard that are those stars that are sort of hardwired that way to get away from sort of not putting the ball in their hands. So I've liked what I've seen out of Billy Donovan, and I think that the returns have been positive as he's willing to adjust. It's going to be interesting to see if in playoff scenarios is that willingness going to be there to adjust as quickly as he has, or to eventually adjust. I know some people would say it wasn't quickly enough with some of these things. How will he adjust come playoff time? That's a big question mark.
Jenny, let's stay with you. Pick one. You could talk about Kevin Durant, the 2016 edition, or Russell Westbrook, 2016 edition. What do we know new? What's the most, what do you know with confidence new about one of them?
Well, I think that we've seen with Durant's absences that have been mixed in with these minor injuries, and he's come back from those a couple different times. I think you see him, clearly he's, the offensive weapon that he is. But I think we see how what a difference he can make defensively, especially when he's locked. I think we've seen that lineup get a whole lot better defensively when Durant's around. Now, whether that means, maybe that's a product of both ends, him being pretty good defensively, him holding guys accountable, but maybe it's also on the offensive end, guys aren't called upon quite so seriously or, with as much consistency when Durant's in the lineup. So, I think he does help defensively in ways that are probably unappreciated. And, I don't know if that's new, but I think we've probably maybe seen that a little bit more throughout this season.
Darnell, what do we know new about Durant or Westbrook or both?
I'm going to piggyback on what Jenny said, and it might not be new, but it is consistent. It's Durant's defense. It's more consistent than it's ever been, I think, and it's versatile. The versatility he's bringing defensively is really impressive. He's guarding power forwards in the post. He's guarding wing players. He's able to switch and guard multiple positions, and I think that's really helped this Thunder team defensively. And when he's not there, you clearly see it impacting this team for the worst, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed out of him making the jump from last year to this year is his consistency on defense.
Blocking shots, getting rebounds, guarding bigs. How about you, Eric? What do we know different about the dynamic duo, or one of them anyway?
Well, I think something that we might not have known about Russell Westbrook that is looking to be true this year is that he's actually a really good shooter inside the three-point line. He's shooting 45% from the field, but he's shooting 29% from three. I mean, you do the quick math on that, and he's shooting probably close to 50% or above 50% from two-point range. He's turned into one of the better mid-range shooters in the league, and I mean, the thing that's holding him back really in terms of field goal percentage is he's taking 4.3 threes a game, and he's making a little bit over one. I mean, 1 out of 4, that's killing his percentages. So we might not have known that Russell Westbrook's really a good shooter when he's taking the shots that he needs to be taking.
Eric, staying with you, blending a couple topics again on this question. What can you say with the greatest amount of confidence about the Thunder's title hopes or its biggest problem?
I'll say with the greatest amount of confidence about their title hopes that right now they look like they're the 4th best team in the league in terms of title hopes. Golden State's obviously your number 1. San Antonio's your number 2. I would say Cleveland's your number 3, and then the Thunder I can say with confidence are number 4. And to kind of tie into the other question with confidence, I'd say it's because of their defense. They haven't played consistent enough defense over the course of the season for them to be up around Golden State and San Antonio or Cleveland in terms of being in the top 3 for title contenders. Now, it's saying something that they've still been good enough to be ranked right below those teams in terms of teams that are vying for a championship. But I think that Golden State and San Antonio are clearly playing on another level than the Thunder right now. And based on the head-to-head matchup this year, I'd give Cleveland the edge over them for the 3rd best team in the league.
Jenny, how about you? Thunder title hopes or its biggest weakness, What's your strongest confidence statement about one of those?
You know, I think the thing that has come to mind for me with title hopes is that it sure looks like whoever the Thunder and probably the other top 3 teams in the West play in the first round of the playoffs, there's a real good chance that that's not going to be an opponent that's to the level that we've seen those first round opponents be in past years in the West. I think we talked about this earlier in the year, and I wasn't convinced of it yet, that the West was down, but I think we're really starting to see that come to fruition. You know, a team we saw in here last night in the Grizzlies as a 6th seed coming into that game last night, which would mean they would be the Thunder opponent in the first round of the playoffs as the playoffs started today. There's clearly a huge drop-off from where we've seen 5, 6, 7, 8 seeds in the West be in the past. So what does that mean? It may ease the Thunder's road to get to, say, the Western Conference Finals or even the Finals, but it also means the same thing for teams like the Warriors and the Spurs, and that those first-round opponents, to me, don't look like they're going to be the world beaters of year past.
What about it, Darnell? What's the strongest statement you can make about the Thunder's title hopes or its biggest weakness?
I'll give you one of each. Their biggest strength to me is that they've got 2 of the best players in the world, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. That gives them a chance in any series to have the 2 best players on the floor in most series. Until they get to the Warriors, then they'll have 2 of the best 3 players on the floor. You have to throw Steph Curry in there. That's debatable even. But I would say 2 of the best 3 players. So that, to me, is their biggest strength. And no one can stop either of those guys. And so that's going to give them a tremendous advantage in any series. The biggest concern, obviously, far and away, is defense. So I'll give you a different one. To me, it's depth and the consistency with which other guys bring. I haven't seen a consistent performer on either end of the floor for this team beyond Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. I think they need a third guy, not just a third scorer, but someone who's going to bring something consistently every night on either offense or defense. And I don't think they have that guy just yet. Serge Ibaka should be that guy, but he struggled with inconsistency. Dion Waiters, we know, is inconsistent. So I think they really need a third guy to step up. Beyond defense, which is far and away the biggest concern, I think, it's who's going to be that third guy to be consistent.
The business plan was built with Ibaka being that guy. Lately showing some signs of it, but you're right, especially on the offensive end, not there. Guys, let's switch gears a little bit, go to the league. Last night, a so-called clerical error cost Portland the services of none other than its second leading scorer against the Clippers. C.J. McCollum didn't get to play because his name didn't wind up on the active-inactive list the right way. The league disqualified. Under league rules, he was disqualified. So, Eric, I'll start with you. Fill in the blank. That's what we're playing now. Fill in the blank. The C.J. McCollum rule is blank.
Ridiculous, but fair under the rules. Doc Rivers, who in the Clippers, who Portland was playing, even said that in the past couple of years, they've done it twice. They've left Danny Granger off their roster before. But Doc also said, hey, it's on them to make sure they've got the roster right. So I think it's ridiculous, the active rule where you have to have a certain amount of active players and you have to have a certain amount of inactives. You have to have 2 inactives and 13 active players out of your 15 players available. And this is kind of perfect because it's going to tie into the story that we're going to be doing during the All-Star break on some of the stranger rules in the NBA. So as things like this keep popping up, I'm just going to keep adding them to my list of things that I'm going to mark off on the story. But I do think it's fair in that you got to be able to sign off on those sheets and know who's in and who's out. But it's rather ridiculous. I mean, they clearly knew that C.J. McCollum was going to be a guy that needed to be in this game and not whoever it was on the list. Luis Montero, I believe, was his name.
Darnell, coming to you next. You know, that ridiculous thing reminds me of, what do they got, some sort of little league score sheet that they don't have room for enough names? Is that they need to print a larger score sheet? I don't know why, but you fill in the blank on that one.
Well, I'm known for impersonations around here. I've done Shaq in the past.
I loved it.
I can get ready to go into a Stephen A. right now. It's asinine. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's beyond belief. I can keep going. But the word I will settle on is senseless. I mean, it's a senseless rule. It makes no sense whatsoever. Who cares how many players you have active versus inactive? I mean, Just make all 15 active, or 14, 13 if you have that many on the roster, and let them all be eligible to play. I don't understand why the NBA has this rule where only a certain amount of guys can suit up. I think it's actually good that this happened to the Portland Trail Blazers, because now the league's going to have a chance to look at it and say, well, why do we have this rule? And maybe it's a story that we need to do, examine why they have this rule, because to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's also a thinly veiled comment by you to try to get Mitch McGary out of a suit.
That's right. They got to play Mitch McGary.
Right.
Into the warm-up.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Hey,
Mitch McGary.
Okay, Jenny, fill in the blank. The C.J. McCollum rule, that's what I'm calling it, is blank.
It's the rule. I mean, I get that it may be silly, it may be stupid, but until they change it, you have to abide by it. So if you think it's dumb, I mean, this was sort of like that Des Bryant catch, no catch thing. Like, if you think the rule's dumb, well, then you got to go change it. But right now, it's the rule, and you got to pay attention to this stuff, and you got to make sure all the guys that you really want to play are on that list. So, I mean, I don't know why it's necessary, but for now, it's the rule, and if you're going to have rules, you got to follow them.
This is a day
Sorry,
of...
Stephen A.
Sorry, Mitch McGary.
Sorry. Okay, we're playing fill in the blank, and we have another so-called reference. I'm talking about the so-called Euro step, which Russell Westbrook put into play and then gave us an instant replay on last night against when the Thunder played the Memphis Grizzlies. He did his own instant replay. Anthony Slater wrote about it in his story on News OK right now. So, Jenny, I'm coming back to you on this one. Fill in the blank. The Euro step is blank.
Well, it's probably traveling, to be quite honest with you, but but aren't a lot of plays in the NBA traveling? I mean, come on. If they called every traveling play in the NBA, we'd never get the game over. Of course, if I go back to my previous answer, the rule is the rule. Maybe they should start calling traveling more. I don't know. But it seems like, I'm not sure Westbrook's was, but I think those Euro steps get into situations where guys are taking too many steps. That's just my personal opinion.
We'll see if Jenny can apply the rule to all three of her fill-in-the-blank answers. We got one more. I don't think he'll make it to three. Eric, the Euro step is blank.
The next big internet dance move to take over for the dab. Did you see Westbrook, Durant kind of the little rock back and forth and they were doing it? And Durant was so caught up on it when he was doing it that he missed Russell Westbrook trying to give him a high five after the play. Durant was doing this, and Westbrook had to, like, stand around for a minute and be like, hey, I'm right here, man. Look, I'm finished doing mine, so you finish doing yours, and we can go on with our lives. But, yeah, I don't think it's traveling. I mean, I counted the steps, and I, turned to Anthony. I'm like, that's traveling, right? And then I looked at it again, and it's not. And it's difficult is what it is. I respect the heck out of the guys that can pull it off at speed like that, especially Westbrook and Dwayne Wade. We've seen him do it time and time again, Tony Parker. So when those guys can pull it off, more power to him, man. It just makes the game great. That wasn't even Westbrook's best move last night, though. His best move was when he got frustrated after a certain call happened, and he ran up the stanchion like Bo Jackson in that game where he ran up the outfield wall. Nobody caught that except me, and I told Anthony about it. He went back and put a video of it up on his Twitter, and Westbrook ran halfway up the stanchion, and he was almost horizontal. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was
Who does he think he is, Dracula?
Dracula, Bo Jackson, conquistador.
We'll get to that. Don't go there yet. Hey, Darnell, The Euro step is what?
It's sweet. That's what it is. It's a sweet move. It's not only sweet, but it's effective, and it's even deadly because you can't really guard it. You're sitting there expecting to take a charge, and then all of a sudden the guy goes this way, and then he goes that way. Do it again, Eric.
Well, he's with the hands.
So I love the move. I don't think it's traveling, by the way. That's it.
It was funny, man. It was so funny.
It's a little bit like the Roomba. You know, the Roomba's got one of those. You need to take your wife to dance lessons. You'll learn that. And they'll teach the Euro step. I like it. I like Euro step revolution. That's for you, Jason Kersey. All right, last fill in the blank. Westbrook showed up at the Peak yesterday dressed like this. Paige Dillard, I think she's going to throw it up there for us. Dressed like this. Okay? Now, fix that in your mind if it isn't there already. Darnell, Westbrook's latest fashion statement was blank.
A hot mess. Where I'm from, that's what they call that. That's a hot mess. You don't come out the house with an area rug on your body and a hat made of wood. I mean, now, I'm not the most fashionable guy.
Wait a minute.
I know you don't wear an area rug to work. That's what I know.
There is no fashionable guy on this hangout. There is one fashionable woman on the hangout. We'll get to her last. Eric, coming at you. Westbrook's latest fashion statement was?
It was too easy for his teammates to crack on. They were loving it after the game. Durant, Dion Waiters they were going back and forth on him. Durant called him Django. He said he was Django. They were going, but Durant called him a conquistador. It was like open. It was like open mic night or something. Durant was just going off, and then Westbrook on the way out of the locker room said he's got his horse outside. Westbrook was having fun with himself, and even on the court after the game, where all the families are having fun, they were. Jeff Green was out there ribbing on him. Royal Ivy said he looked like one of the three amigos, I think, something like that. But I mean, they were.
Eric, you could have done a quotable just on what they said about Russell Westbrook.
I could have.
Exactly.
I held back a little bit, to be honest. I may even put some more of those in the journal for tomorrow. I've got a couple of things in there, but I thought it was Westbrook being Westbrook, and Durant really was at a loss for words. He said it was like the Wild Wild West, but after that, he just really didn't have anything to say. He was just like, "That's a Russell Westbrook." So it was cool to see. You know, I always think it's funny whenever Russell breaks out the interesting outfits, and I don't have a problem with it. It's fun for us to cover. So,
Jenny Darnell, I'm going to take you back. This is the most fun anybody's had with one of the players' outfits since Tyrus Thomas showed up with the Hornets wearing his own LSU jersey. Like people wear people's jerseys. And then it's the most fun anybody had since Westbrook showed up that time, his rookie season, wearing his G.I. Joe shirt, and Desmond Mason, as Westbrook was coming out, saluted him. And it sounds like Russ has learned to have some fun with it now that he didn't then. He's got a bigger fashion sense. But, Jenny, you can be the last word on this because you actually do have some fashion sense, which nobody on the dais, nobody in the department except you can say. Westbrook's latest fashion statement was?
Oh, geez. I don't think I had a clear picture of what he was wearing until we found the link today. And I frankly would not be surprised to see some Nichols Hills woman wearing that cape.
Oh.
So I'm sorry, Russell. I mean, I get that you push the fashion bounds, but I was a little out there. You can buy one of these for yourself, folks. It's on sale, $120 on the JewelsB.com website. It was originally $299, but you can save 60% right now. This is the Blackfeet wool cape. You could also get the Ottawa wool cape, the Apache wool cape, or the reversible lumberjack wool cape.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a cape. It's a cape, not a poncho. It's a cape.
Can I just say that if we could get Russell back in this outfit and then get Durant in like the Apache wool cape and, I don't know, Ibaka in the Ottawa wool cape, I mean, that would be outstanding.
What's your word, Jenny? You never said your word.
She said out there.
What was my word?
Fill in the blank.
Oh, fill in the blank. I would say it was too much. Too much.
That's pretty good.
By the way, I'm not the only one who knows fashion. This is Darnell's hat, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the riding hat.
Straighten it.
Yeah, straighten it out a little bit, Jenny. You're making me look bad. Straighten it out a little bit. Put your hand in there. Fluff it up.
That's not mine to wear.
Fluff it up. Punch it up a little bit.
Tally ho.
There you go.
There we go.
If we're filling the blank on Darnell's hat, I would say tally ho. Since we're not, I'm going to use the good, the bad, and the ugly. Look like Clint Eastwood in a spaghetti western. You do you, Russ. Don't get it twisted.
I do this.
I do this.
I do this.
That's all for this edition of Thunder Thursday, but you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere. Every day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman.